So for those of us online, is there anybody who has concluded this employee analysis? Is there anybody, both physically and online? Is there anybody who has concluded, like from beginning to the end? You have done this employee, uh, Miss Simi, you have done it. I wish you are in class. You are coming. Okay, very well. Maybe today is your day then. I just want to, maybe because I'm the one teaching, you feel that this man already know it. You understand? That's why it seemed very easy for him. Maybe if you have one of our classes, we have one of the students teaching. Eh? Class rep, that's true. You've done it, Abby. The, you've done the employee from beginning to the end. Okay. Can you take us on it from beginning to the end? Yes. How you approach the project? Do you start definitely laugh? All right. Okay. Let me do it because of time. Maybe some other time. We'll create a time whereby we have to handle projects on our own in class. All right. So basically, for those of us that for the first time, this is the first time you are interacting with your SQL, or for some of us that we are still having issue, Miss Sarah, you are welcome. So when you open your MySQL workbench, this is the way it is. Now, some people have done a lot of reading, but they cannot really package the whole things together. Now, the idea is this: why do we need these two? You all know we are here for data analysis, right? Except for those of us that are here for data science. Both data science, data analysis, you need the knowledge of what? Of SQL. Even for data engineering, any data related work that you want to do, you cannot do without what? Without SQL. Marima, you are welcome. You are welcome. You were in the last class. You were in the last class. Last two class. Last three class. This is the first time. Okay. Every day, you know how I be. You know how. All right. All of you welcome. Oh. You are welcome. How you doing, ma? What is the name? Monsieur Tunde. You are welcome. You can see the challenges. Should we call it what should we call it? All right. Let's move on, please. Where's my flash? Uh, Class rep, over to you. Okay, it's Mark Abby. It's window. I'm not saying Mark logo. Let let's be safe. All right. So as I was saying, the idea for this. All right.
I want to bring up a situation, right?
Okay.
Some of them, those who are here before,
Mm,
taking them back and forth on reading newcomers. I not just separate the classes.
from them.
That way it's much easier for them.
That's what comes to my mind too. So I'm going to see them there. We sit down and talk about it because it's really by now we should be probably talking about Power BI. Power BI. Power BI. All right, let's move on, please. So, like I said, this is a MySQL workbench. So the idea is this: as a data personnel, you are going to be dealing with data, and you need a tool to deal with that data. You need to analyze data. Everybody know what a data is by now. Data are what? Are raw facts. So data are just those things that are just sitting out there. You don't really make meaning from them unless you do some what? Analysis on it. So that is your work as a data analyst. You look for raw facts, then you make meaning from what? From those data. And how do you make meaning from it? By doing some what? Some statistical operations on it. Then your end result are what? The visuals that you make, which are dashboard and all those things. Now, talking about analyzing the data, we all know that data has different form. There's what we call structured data, unstructured data, and what? Semi-structured data. The structured data are those data we said that are what? In a tabular form. And everybody by now we all know tabular data when we see them. Those are data in what? In rows and what? And columns. Any data that you can see that has rows and what? And columns. Those are what? Structured data. But the unstructured one, they are in form of JSON, for example. When you get to Python, you see what a JSON file look like. When you are downloading some data to on Kaggle, you see some JSON file. We have not talked about Kaggle at all, Abi. That's what our second project will be on. Cargo is a repository where we download what? Data. And these data are what? Are real life data. There are many repositories like that where you can get real data you can work with. You understand? Now, when you get those data, you want to make meaning from them. You need a particular tool to analyze those data. You can't analyze data on your own. You need a particular tool. And that's where things like what? SQL comes in, Excel comes in, Power BI comes in, Python comes in. There are many tools. Google Looker is one of them. R is one of them. There are so many. There are so many. But in this class, we are focused on just four tools. And these four tools are like fundamentals for anybody that is getting what, an entry job into data analysis. And even out of all these four tools, the most important one, that whether you like it or not, whether you like it or not, it's what is very important. Is SQL. Is SQL. SQL alone can get you a job. I'm serious. This is not being sugarcoating. SQL alone can get you a job. The more you understand SQL, when I started too, if I know that SQL was very much important like this, I will have sit down and you understand. But it takes some time after you start building up before you know that SQL is actually what. I usually think it's just Python, but it's not about code. SQL is very more important, and they are very easy to understand. Like I said, 2 days alone you will crash. When I say crash, you know what I mean by crash. You lock yourself in a room from morning till night. Who has done that before? You do it. You have to do it. If you have a break from office, if you have a break from office or any that time that you have, take it that today from morning to night I want to be reading about SQL, and I bet you in 2 days you will finish SQL. You understand? It's not difficult. SQL is not like Python whereby things can get no, SQL is not like that. All right. Now, because we know SQL is not important, what do we use SQL to do? We use SQL to interact with the what? With the database. We all know what a database is. Database are what? Are storage for structured data. Those are what company use to store their data. No company store information on Excel. Nobody store information on hard drive or on a flash. They store their business data on what? On a database, which some people also call what? Server. So it's always on what? On a database. So which means that if you are getting a job as a data analyst and you want to work with a company, will it not be good to know how to interact with the what? With the database, since that's where their data is stored. Another importance of understanding SQL is that you will be able to manipulate and work on what? On large amount of data. It is only a database that can store large amount of data. For now, we don't have any storage that can store large amount of data except what? Database. But that data can be what? A local database or what? A cloud database. It doesn't matter whether it's a physical one, like the one we're interacting with now is a what? Is a local database. When you get to companies too, some company has what? Their local database where you interact with by connecting to the what? To their IP address. You understand? Just like for example, if I want to connect, let's as well I want to connect to Jumia database now. All I have to do is to come to this my SQL connection, click on this plus, and you will see connection name. You understand? If I know the connection name, which is Jumia, I will put it there. I will give the method, the connection method. So you don't need all these network explanation. So this is a TCP, and then I will give the host name. Look at the host name. The host name is the most important thing here. The host name is what? 127.0.0.1, and that's the IP address for every local system. Every system has what? An IP address. So if I know Jumia IP address, what I will do is to put Jumia IP address there. Then I will give the port that is running. And what is a port? Every application that you are having, every application is running on a particular port. Just like let me use USB for example. Just for you to understand, if I use USB port, if I have a system that has 4 USB ports, I can plug in 4 devices at the same time. That's the way it is as well. So on a server there are many ports where different application can run. So when you know the IP address and you know the ports, you specify. Then you will give your what? Username, which the database administrator or the IT person in the office will have set up for you. They will give you a username and they will give you what? A password. So if those credentials are correct, what do? You are connected to their server, and then you have access to all the what? All the database on their server. So it's similar to that. You understand? So, but the idea, since we don't know Jumia database, we don't know anybody database, but our system already gave us a what? A local database which we can use to manage our own what? Our own data, which is this what? Local instance. The local instance is the what? Is the database. Madam, what's the name? It will take me some time. Miss Yetunde, you are welcome. So please pay attention, please. I think I will look into the issue and then address it, please, if possible. I won't look forward to dividing the class. You understand? But probably, if possible, for those of us that still have an issue, probably create a separate class for us to brush us up. But I won't think about dividing the class. Me too. I want to rest now. Don't kill me. Eh? So you understand? So the local instance is our local database where we need to what? Go into. Now, if you go into your local server now, this local instance, are you on this interface? It's still installing. It's there. Ah, you have used it before in the year. What is no? You people will have done something. You come to class and say no. Oh, okay, you are the one. Eh, I do not know how many people do I know. How many people do I know? You are welcome. All right. Okay, so this is your local instance, which is your local server. So all I need to do is to click on this guy, and when you click on this guy, it's going to ask you for your password. So whatever password that you have set, then you put it there. So I'll put in my password. Then you don't need to save to votes. On Mac, you see save password. You don't need to save it. So what that simply means that what is that just like when you say remember me. So that means that for anybody who wants to log into your database, they can easily do that without your what or your password. If you do it on your local system, no wahala. But if you go and do it on a production server, the day a colleague of yours will log in with your credential and do something, and they will say you are the one who did it. You have nobody to, because they will ask you, does he have access to your password? And you say no, I did not give my password. Then how is he able to log in? So you'll be the one to pay for it. So for security reason, I always advise that you pick want to enter the password. Don't click on save password. Then um, did I type that wrong? Let me type it again. All right. So you give your password. I'm going to give your password. Then you are into your what? You are into your workbench. You understand? You are into your workbench. So let me close all this. So for the sake of those that are just seeing this for the first time. So the what thing you used to pay attention to is what? All the interface that you have there. Right now there are some interface on the left, on the right, so both left, right, bottom and top. So basically on the top you will see some information there. As you are going and interacting with them, you'll be seeing their use cases. But on the left hand side, that is where your database are showing. Whatever database that you have loaded into this MySQL workbench, you will see them there. By default, you should be seeing Sakila. Do you have Sakila there? Alright. I think another thing is for some people it will be showing like this. Alright, I know what is wrong. So you are on the administration so you are on the administration tab. So at the bottom of that at the bottom here, so you see schema. So when you click on schema, so you see all the database there, and you will see Sakila, you see SYS, you see Word as well. Those are the default database that MySQL provide for you. Now, for you to now enter with the database, I think one of the problem is not about the syntax. It's not about the syntax. If I ask you to write a select statement, and most of us can write a select statement, but most of you don't really understand how a data is being stored in the what? In the database. Before you can enter the data inside some place, in a place, you have to understand how that data is what? Is being structured. So, for example, let's pick a particular database, for example. Let's pick the Sakila database, which everybody has. Now, if Sakila is a database, that is where everything starts. Remember we said database what? Stores data. Now, if database store data, database store different kind of data. It is not just raw data alone. It store different kind of what? Of data. And that is what I call what? Objects. Objects that made up what? The database. So which means if you look into your database, Mr. Tunde, if you click down on this circular, you will see some objects. And what are the objects you can see there? You can see tables. You can see what? Views. You can see what? Stored procedure. And you can see functions. These are the objects that made up what? A data. That means whenever you create a database, anytime I create a database, all these objects will come with it. Now let's create a database, and we do that with our employee database. So for those of us that doesn't have employee database, I think you should do this. For those of us that have it already, if you still want to do it, you can do it. All right. So Mr. Tunde, the first thing you will do is actually to create a what? A query tab. This is my workbench. Mr. K, what is a workbench again? Can you explain to us what you understand by MySQL workbench? Your own term. It's not a table. You have to know. You have to know. You have to know. Eh? It's the interface. It's the interface. The interface provided for you to interact with the what? With the database. You are the user. I need to interact with the what? With the data because that's your work as a data person. I need to manipulate and analyze data inside this database. So that means I need an interface, a software that I can use to interact with the what? With the database. And what is that software? Is what we call what? DBMS. Database Management Software. Some people call it Database Management System. I'm not bringing up students that will depend on. Eh? That's the kind of student I want. I want students that we can collaborate and work on a project. Eh? Do you understand me? So don't. This is not it's not a normal class of come to class. Somebody just there to learn. No, I want a class whereby you call me, then you share ideas, and then everybody move on. Don't just come, take and go. No. Don't just come, take and go. You have the mindset that you are coming to class to even come and contribute to the what? To the class or whatever you are find out. Do you understand? So the DBMS is a what? Is a software. Now I've mentioned two things. We have mentioned DBMS and we have mentioned what? Database. The database is storing the data. So let me put the database, the DBMS here. DBMS. So you are the what? Data analyst or whatever user that you have. It is not only data analyst that use the database. Data engineer do that. Database administrator do that. So many roles that make IT people, IT support, many roles depending on the company, depending on the organization, interact with what? With the database. So wherever you are, you need to interact with the what? With the DBMS in order to what? To communicate with the what? With your database. You understand now? So let's pause a little bit about this DBMS for the sake of everybody. Now, this DBMS on our own case now is a what? MySQL workbench. But you know that it's not only MySQL workbench that we have. We have so many. Like what? I mentioned Microsoft Server, Postgres. What again? dbeaver. What again? SQLite. If you continue mentioning them, you will mention, you will tire. When you go online, search for DBMS, you see many DBMS. So, which means that depending on the organization you go to, that's another thing you need to prepare your mind for. When you go to an organization, even though you are learning MySQL, and you get to that organization, and the organization is using what? Postgres. What do you now do? If you get to the organization and they are using what? Microsoft Server, what do you do? Then now become a what? A challenge. And seriously, it's not a what? It's not a challenge. Because the only difference is just that what? They have different what? Interface. But the language you will write on all of them are what? Are the same thing. The language is what? Is the same thing. And what is that language? That's the language of what? SQL. All of them make use of what? Language of what? SQL. So now you understand the difference between MySQL and SQL. MySQL is a DBMS, just like Postgres. But SQL is the language itself that we use in communicating with the what? With the database. So all of them make use of what? Of SQL. But mind you, even though the language is the same thing, there are little what? Differences. There are little what? Differences. One of the differences that what? In SQL, in MySQL, for those of us that, Morima, when we are using MySQL, you know that best practice that whenever you write a statement, what do we end with? Semicolon. Whenever we end a statement. In Postgres, it's not compulsory. When you write a statement, if you like, don't end it. Your code will still what? Your code will still run. Those are little what? Differences you will see. One of the differences again, which I'm familiar with, when you are using MySQL, whenever you want to define a column, I know for the sake of those online, let me put it on the screen. Whenever I want to define a column, we used to say, if you define a column and that column have a space, like first name, usually put it in what? In a parenthesis, in a quotation, if it were to be MySQL. If your column name has spaces, you have to put what? Quotation. Do you agree with me? But in Postgres, if you do this, you have what? You have an error. You understand? You have an error because Postgres see anything in quotes as a name of a what? Of a table. So all these things are little what? Little changes. Just like you created your own software, created your own software, everybody created their own software. You will want to add some little flavor to make to spice things up so that people can make use of your what? Of your software. You understand? So those are but if you look at the language, let me just show it to you just for the sake of the class. So look at this. Is it different from what we have there? From what we have from SQL? It's not different. The language is still what? It's still the same thing. But you have to obey some rules when you get to Postgres, which is not what? Which is allowed in what? In MySQL. Some is allowed here, but it's not allowed what? It's not allowed there. But the command, the things that tie them together, is still what? It's still the same thing. Do you get my point now? So just in case you get a job and they are using what different tool, and that is another challenge you will have. Why see, I've not seen any task that is as challenging as this data space. You have many things to learn. You have many things. So you need to be up and doing, and then because you never know which one can get you a job. But don't get yourself overwhelmed. Even outside they are doing that, don't be jack of all trade. Learning this, and at the point, nothing to show. So the idea is that you can stick to one for now. When the jobs comes in, the job will force you to do other stuff. There's no how. The job will force you to do other stuff. But when you are getting a job, you can get a job with what? Your MySQL skills. But that your job will now force you to what? To go and learn. Because at that point you are normally what? A beginner. You are expected to work like an expert. You understand? And if you want to use Postgres, it's all about installing. When you install it and you are typing your command the way you type it in SQL. When you start typing some command and you feel like, what happened? This command I used to type in MySQL is not working here. What's the problem? What will you do? You make a Google search. And when you make a Google search, you find that no, that thing you are doing is not allowed in what? In Postgres. What happened? You've known that. You move on. You understand? Please. So, back to this guy now. We have understand the difference between DBMS and what? And SQL. Now let's concentrate on our what? On our database. How are data represented in a what? In a database. For you to understand how data are represented in the database. So tables is one object. View is another object. Stored procedure is another object. Function is another object. But out of all these objects, which one is the most important one? The table is the most important one. That's why we started with what? We started with table. Because it is this table that record your what? Original, let's call it business data. Business data. That's where your business data is, on the what? On the table. So now, if I go into my SQL Workbench, once you have opened a query tab, I'm going to say a comment and I'll say create a database. I want everybody to follow me, please. Anyone who is still having issue with this, aside for those of us that have understand already, but if you are still having issue doing this, please, this will be the last time we are going to be doing this. So if I'm working as an analyst and somebody is providing me with an employee data set to analyze, you know, we have talked about two things now. Is either as me as an analyst, I have access to the database. You know, when you have access to the database, will you have any need to create the database? No, you don't have any need. Because if the person has given you access, just like Sakila for example, we have access to Sakila database. I don't have to create Sakila database again. You understand? But sometimes the database is not given to you because probably you are a third party person. You are not working internally in the what? In the organization. You understand? Or somebody gave me a raw file and they want me to analyze it using what? SQL. So if I need to analyze it using SQL, the first thing I will do is to create something that can hold the what? The data. And what will hold your data is what? A database. So I need to transform that raw file, whether it's in a CSV or in Excel or whatever format it is. I need to convert it to what? A database structure. So that is why we are creating a what? A database. And when you need to create a database, what command will you use in creating your database? Somebody say use Sakila. I want to create a database. And you said I should use Sakila. You say ha. You understand? We want to create a new database. So the command is what? Create. Create. So for the sake of let me pause a little while. Me say today, am I too fast? I'm rushing. Be sincere. Oh. Alright. You know what a data analyst is. You know what a DBMS is. You know what a SQL is now, Abi? And what is a SQL? What is the meaning of SQL? Structured query language that will be used to communicate with a what? A database. You understand this diagram? I think if you understand this diagram, you should be able to say more about what all these things are. So if somebody asked me to tell us what a database is to a data analyst using this simple structure, I'll be able to say a lot about it. Now, let's focus on what? Everybody now have a DBMS. We all have a DBMS. Now, let's focus on what? On SQL, which is the class rep. Please remind me for that video, please. Since we are going on weekend, I think there should not be any reason why everybody should not consume that video. If you consume that video, I bet you by next week, is that you thank me or you thank God? You thank one person or you thank both of us. All right. Now, when we say SQL, there are many commands in SQL, but according to our definition so far, how many categories do we divided those commands? Oh yeah, yeah, my people. Oh yeah, I don't be scared now. We have DQL, DDL, mm-hmm, TCC. Mm-hmm. Is it only Mr. Okpeda that is in class? Eh?
DML.
DML. All right, DML. Mr. Jaffet, the last one. Eh? My people are opening their notes. Eh?
DQL, DML, DDL,
Mm.
TCC,
TCC. DCL call.
DCL.
All right. What's the meaning of DQL, Mr. Jaffet? Stop smiling. Ah, not be woman they teach you now. Which one be talk? We are smiling. We are smiling. Data query language. Uh-huh. Data definition language. Data manipulation language. TCC. Transaction control. Data control language. What are the commands you can see under data query language? Don't look at your notes.
Structure.
Eh? I sent it that. Okay, I think it's to my WhatsApp. Let me see if I can send it to the group. For those of us online, can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Are these people still there? Wow, can see. I've been talking to myself all this while, and nobody's even dropping me a message. All right, let me see if I can drop that. All right, so I'm dropping a diagram on this on the WhatsApp group. So look at that diagram. This network don't start. Imagine. Hello, Mr. Maiwa. Hello, guys. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, hello. Can anyone hear me? Hello, guys. Can you hear me? All right. Okay. So everybody have access to that diagram, Abby.
Yes.
So if you look at that diagram, you see that everything has been welcome. Everything has been uh, placed on that diagram. So now talking about the data query language, those are the command in SQL you will use in querying the what the database. You see this one, whether you like it or not, all command. So look at that diagram. Can you mention those commands you can see there
There are and or not for DQL.
for DQL?
Yeah.
Just mention them randomly.
And or not between likely in any all exist.
There are so many there. So don't worry, don't worry. Don't let me stress you. So let me just put it on the screen so that everybody. Uh, so so you can see for the DQL, the command you need to understand are what? Order by, select, group by, where, alias, join, and what? Function, aggregate function. Are they much? They are not much, Mr. K. They are not much. They are defined. Order by. What do you use order by to do? Order by to sort. And when you sort, you can either sort in what? Ascending order or what? This diagram is important. When you sort, you can sort in ascending order or what? Or descending order. When you select, you can either select a what? Look at this. Columns. That's when I say select actor ID, first name, last name. When you split all of them out. Or you say what? Select what? All, which is that star. Those are the two ways you can select. No other way again. No other way again. Group by. Group by is used to do what? Group by. By the word. Is used to what? To group data together. To eliminate what? Duplicates. To remove what? To remove duplicates. Where? Don't worry, don't worry. All these things I will still talk about it when we are working on this employee data set, so you understand them. So probably we'll close by 5 today. Abi, my where clause, if you are smiling, my where clause, you can see when I'm using my where clause, I can use my where clause together with what? Less than, greater than. You say today smile. God bless you. So and or not between like in any all exist. When I use alias, what are the command under alias? They are just one as. So anytime you use as, you should know you are using what? Alias. When I say join, look at the join. Even though I said there are many types of join, why are you people smiling? The smile is getting too much. When I use join, join can be what? Inner join, outer, left, and right. Even though we mentioned self join, Cartesian join, all those ones are not they are not really important. But it's good for you to what? To learn about them. Self join. Joining is the same table to one another. Cartesian join, multiplying a table to another table. But in business world, the most important one that you must go and know is what? Inner, outer, left, and what? And right. Alright? Functions, our aggregate functions. Average, sum, count, mean, max. That's not all. There are many. But these are what? They are just letting you know. These are one you are going to what? You are going to look at. We look at many functions like what? Concatenate, concat. We look at a function like what? Year, time, date. We still look at some of them again. Now that is for what? DQL. You know, I've just finished learning SQL for DQL now in less than 5 minutes.
What they are expecting is
I know that's what you will say. That's what you say. All right. Now, please just look at them. DML, data manipulation. Manipulation means what? You are manipulating something that already what exists. And when you are manipulating, select is one of them. Select is what is one of them. Insert, putting a new record is one of them. Update is one of them. Delete is one of them. Now, under DDL, DDL means what? Data definition language. That means defining new what? New data. And what do you use in defining new data? Like create. When you are creating. View. You can see I can create a database, I can create a table, I can create a what? A view. When we get to stored procedure too, we also create what? Stored procedure, which is not included in this diagram. Alter. Alter means what? Something that is already defined. I want to change the what? I want to change the structure. So that's why you do alter. When you do alter, you can alter to add or to remove or to what? Or to modify. When you drop, you can drop a table, you can drop a database, you can drop a view, you can drop a stored procedure. Anything you create, you can drop it. And then truncate. Who can remind me truncate again? To delete all record in a table. And the table will still exist, but all record will be what? Will be deleted. And the DCL, which is data control language, they are just two. Grant and what? And revoke. One is missing on the diagram, and which one is that? The TCC, transaction control. Transaction control is also very important. Somebody was asking a question in one of our classes that what if you make a transaction, that means you execute a query, then you discover that you made a mistake, can you go back? And we say there is no control Z, but you can what? You can roll back. Roll back is like going back to the last version of that data. You understand? That's what transaction control, and they are just we have rollback, we have commit. When we get there, so just in case I forget, I might skip things up. So just yeah, there's rollback, there's commit in transaction control. But this video I'm sending to you, will find everything there. You understand? All right. I know we. So now we just decipher all command, all important command in what? In SQL. In what? In SQL. But as a data analyst, you will use some of the command more than each other. Even though we are looking at all of them. In your space of work, it's possible that throughout your first year working with that company, you might not even smell creating a database. You might not even smell it. What you'll be doing are what? DQL. That's why you have to focus on what? On how to query data. You see, this one, creating table, creating view, you might not even smell it at all. It's the work of what? Of a data engineers or database administrator or somebody in the team that has a more rank than you. You might not be given a permission to create what? Database. But as you are moving on your own ladder, you start becoming a senior data person, and you might have the challenge of what? Creating your own database, which is why the knowledge is what is important. All this manipulation, you might not even smell them. This is the most important one as a data analyst. This is the most what? Most important one. If you want to kill yourself for this one, kill yourself for this one. Mr. Okpe, what happened? Don't mind me. Mr. So that you getting it. So this one is important. But having all these two, what? Is good. At least you are in the game already. So why should you learn something and leave others? You understand? Alright. So now let's get into this with our employee data sets. Now, the first thing I will create is to create a what? A database. And for me to create a database, the command is for what? Data query, data definition language. And the command is what? Create. And what do you want to create? A database. I would say I want to create a database. I want to create a what? A database. And what is the name of the database you want to create? Employee database. But because I already have employee database, I'm going to give it another name. Let me call it what? Um, how can I call it? No, that rename is somehow complex. We go back to that word. That's another thing entirely. Renaming a database name is another thing. So and the reason why it's complex because when you are renaming a database, you have to make a copy of all the data in that database. You make a copy somewhere because by the time you rename the database, everything in it will be what? Will be lost. So by the time you make the copy somewhere, and when I say making the copy, it's not by the same control C. You will write some query that will load all the data inside it and load it in a particular what? File. So that when you now create or rename the table or the database again, you will now load that data. So you can see somehow complex. So that's why I don't want to go into it. Alright, so I'm creating a new database and let's call the name of this database. Can somebody give me a name of employee? Let me call it. Yes, yes. What's going on? Aha, wahala, wahala. This network don't start, you know. Is that from the group, Abi? That's why I don't like. Hey, hello guys. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Hello, hello guys. Can you hear me? Hello. It's not muted. Hello, can you hear me? Hello. No, it's not muted. This is my mic. Is the camera I turned off? Where is that? Okay, this one. No, no, no. This for my phone. This for my phone. The network is bad. Hello, guys. Hello. Hello. Please, let me ask them if they can hear me. Class rep. Let me ask them if they can hear me. I can't hear. Maybe they are. I think all of them are muted. Mr. Mayo, can you hear me? All right, please let's move on. All right. So I was talking about creating the database, and nobody's giving me a name. Uh, Let me call it employee database two. So if you are naming your own, just call your own create database employee. So don't say two. So because I already have employee database, so that's what I'm saying employee database two. Eh? Yes, if you have it before, just say two. If you are creating a new one, put two there so that we can create a new database. Do you understand why I'm putting two there? Alright. So Ms. Etunde, This first line of code, what are we doing? The first line of code, what are we doing? Yes, on the screen. The first line of code, what are we doing there? We are creating a what? A database. And that's how you what? That's how you create a database. You know, we have explained to us that the database must exist before the what? Tables. So that's why we are creating data. If there's no database, there's no tables, there's no views, there's no store procedure, there's no what? There's no function. So the database is the first thing you always what? You always create. Now when you do this, you have created a database. And when you run this, truly a database will be what? Will be created. But you know we adopted a method. And what was the method that we adopted? Of always put what? If not what exists. It's also very good. So instead of saying just create database, I would say only create the database if not exists. So, and this helped me to create a what? A database. Ms. Dami, any question? Better ask question. This is the last time we are doing this. This is the last time. We have one analysis to do. So you must do this. There's, but there's one more analysis we need to do before we can conclude on SQL. So, and I don't want to get to that analysis and myself to not depending on me, no. So that's why I want to go through this again. So that by the time we are doing that SQL analysis, at least within you, you should be capable of handling a project yourself. Alright. So, Miss Yetunde, this is the full command that will help us to create a, what? A database. Anytime you need to create a database, this is the same thing I will do. This is the same thing I will do. Create database. If not, the only thing I will change is the what? Is the name of the database. If I have to create a database for Jumia, all you do need to do is what? Create database. If not, then you say what? Jumia. And a database with a name called Jumia will be created. But after you have written your code, the next thing you now do is to execute that instruction. Without executing the instruction, nothing will be done. You have just written plain text. You have to execute the instruction. And how do you execute the instruction? You execute the instruction by clicking on these words, on this button here. So basically, there are two buttons there, Mr. K. There are two buttons. There's two lightning buttons there. There's a lightning with an eye, and there's another lightning button without what? An eye. The both of them are used to what? To execute query. But you see the first one without eye can be used to execute two query at a time, two or more query at a time. Why this one will only execute one query at a time? You understand? So it depends on what you want to do. So since I only want to run one query, I'll click on this guy. And best practice, after every statement, what do? You end the statement with what? Semicolon. We end it with what? Semicolon. We call this delimiter. This semicolon, we call it what? Delimiter. Just in case you attend SQL interview and they say what is delimiter of SQL? The delimiter of SQL is what? Semicolon. Can it be changed? Yes, it can be changed. Can be changed, but this is what the default query, the default delimiter, semicolon. And for no reason, should you change it? It can be changed, but don't change it. But there are some times you will write query. When we get to stored procedure, you will see. There's no how you want to write a stored procedure. You must first of all change the what? The delimiter. When we get there. But if there is no reason for you changing it, never what? Never change it. Don't change it. So now, and I will run this query by clicking on this button. And when I click on this button, then if you look at the bottom on your output, you see that there's a green button there, and that means that the command run successfully. I will go round to Ms. Yetunde. I will go round to. So this means that database has been created. You've done that. Alright. So it didn't run successfully. No wahala. We have an error. Now look at the response. What is the error message? You will look at. No, look at the response. The response on this side. Syntax, Abi. So when you see that kind of error, it says syntax. My people, what does that syntax means? The syntax means the rule of the language. It means that you have disobeyed one of the rule of the language.
Oh,
You have seen it, Abi?
yes.
Exactly. Debugging error is compulsory. You understand? And everybody make a mistake. Everybody can make a mistake, can make an error. It's not one of the things you will run away from. But when you make that mistake or that error, you must know how to fix it. The exist. Look at the exist. Is the spelling correct? Is it correct?
Yes.
Okay, no, no. Look at this. There's an error here. And why do you have an error here? Because you already have a command here, which you did not what? You did not end. You didn't end it. Now, please pay attention, everybody. What I have here is a what? A comment. Comment will not be executed. Now, whenever you want to give a comment, is what? Dash, dash, then space. If there is no space there, Mr. Yetunde, if there is no space there, there will be what? An error. And when you see this red something, it means that there is an error in this what? In this line. So if you want to give a comment, is a dash dash, then a space will follow, then you can give your comment. And my comment is telling me I want to create a database. Now, Mr. Mitayo, what you did is that you do this, you say create database employee. Now, that's why you're having this error. Because you have what? Two command, two statements, which you did not end the first one. You did not end the first one. So every statement must be what? Must be end. Now, do you need these two query? Mr. Mitayo, do you need these two query? No. You only need one because both of them are doing the same thing. Both of them are creating a database. The only difference is that what?
And the other
Mm.
one.
No, no, no. Mr. Labanke, what's going on? Your eye. Is it the fan? Sorry. So the data, these two method is allowed. Whenever you run these two method, a database will be created. But one, if I use this guy, if a database with this same name is already existing, no, I want you to use the right word. Don't use class explanation that no, Mr. Ola understand it now. No. Because when you are attending interview too, you assume that the person you are explaining to doesn't understand. And that's where I want you to approach questions too. Don't just answer that no, Mr. Ola understand what I'm trying to say. No. So when you are using this first command, Ms. Dami, when you are using the first command, if a database is already there with this same name employee and you run this query, there will be what? An error message. But if you use this other method, if there's already a database name with this same name, this one will not give you an error message, but it will only give you what? A warning message. So we won't give a warning message, and that is because you are only creating database if it does not what? Exist. So and that's why we prefer this method. Getting a warning is better than getting a what? An error message. So and this is much more optimized. It's much more what? Optimized. Because you first of all check the database to see if the data is present or not. The two of you look alike. Do you know each other? Yeah. Alright. So we've just created a what? A database. But after you run that your create database, you can't see the database on the left hand side. And that's because you need to do what? What do you need to do? Miss Okpe, we need to refresh. Because right now I can still see my three database. The new database you just created, we can't see it on the left hand side. All you need to do is what? Is to what? Refresh your schema from here. And when you click on this refresh schema, am I doing that? Alright. So when you refresh the schema, then you will see the database called what? Employee DB2. Do you have it? We have it. So successfully now everybody can create a what? A database. Now database has been created. When you create that database, go into that database, click on that drop down. What are the objects you can find inside? Table, views, store procedure, and what? And function. But they are what? They are empty. No tables, no views, no store procedure, and what? No function. So it means that you have created a database. You will be the one to create the what? The table. You'll be the one to what? To create the table. Now, we now need to create the table. The question is now that now you want to create a table. What table are we creating? As a data person, my client or my boss must give me the table they want me to what? To create. And that is why we send across the data that we are using. So if I go into my, I think our employee data set. All right. So these are the data we need. For those of us that don't have it, uh, let me confirm if it's here first. All right. Yes, I'm recording. So please, let's pause a little while. For those of us that are just joining for the first time, there's a tradition in this class, and it's tradition that you must have a folder called what? Data science. So create a folder called what? Or data analysis if you are here for data analysis. So just make sure you create a folder called data analysis or data science. Inside that folder, you now create another folder called SQL. So that everything you are learning and doing with SQL, you'll be saving it in that what? In that folder. Alright. So in the flag you see employee folder. So you copy that. Alright, please let's do that. Let me get some water.
Employee schema. What's the name of the file?
Employee. It's a folder. Okay for WhatsApp. Is that
I
okay?
always say employees.
Is that me? No, that's what I said.
to your Wi-Fi so I can be sending this thing to my
But the
children.
network service is not moving. What do you want to say?
The stuff. I don't have Excel on my system.
No, it doesn't matter. We're able to use it. Just copy it. Okay, you've copied it already. Then just leave it. By the time I want to use it, if it's not going, then I'll go for
Even
it.
all
Yes.
those ones on WhatsApp. I cannot send apps that WhatsApp on this.
I don't understand. Okay, do you want? No, you can go to WhatsApp on your phone, on your Chrome instead of downloading WhatsApp. All right.
Okay, I'm on the same page now. All right. So now, for those of us that can open that files, so if you have Excel on your system, so if I try to open the file, so I just want to see what it looks like. Uh, where is it again? All right. So let's start with employee data sets. So Ms. Etuni, all I need to do here is what? Because I need to understand how this data is being structured before. Yes.
Let's go to WhatsApp. So, can I move on, guys? I can move on. All right. So now, if you open this employee CSV file, I'll be doing this very fast.
Guys, please let's listen. So when you open this data, it's showing what? No, when it's showing Asha like the Excel, it means that the column is not wide enough to take the data. When you increase it, look at this. When you bring your cursor and then you try to enlarge it, so the data are there. So when you enlarge the data are there. Don't manipulate the data, just leave it. All right. So
No, it's already on my phone.
you already have it. All right. I'll change it to Excel. I've,
Did you change it to CPS?
yes, I've CSV. I'll change it.
Yeah.
Is it still showing in the listing?
The one I copied.
Okay. Attention, guys. All right. The employee. I don't want this. Yes. No, it's because you don't have a Excel. So it's open it with your notepad. You understand? So this is what the data look like. So what I want to do now is to load it. So you don't worry, just leave it like this. It's a CSV file. CSV means what? Comma separated values. That's why all the values are separated by what? By comma.
So because you don't have Excel, you use Notepad to open it. It looks like this. But if I use Excel to open it, this is the way it will look. It is the same data that you have there that's also here.
To make it more easier, let me just have Excel.
We will install Excel. We will install Excel, but we can't do that now.
Anyway, yeah.
All right. Are we together now? Copy the file. Copy the folder. You already have it, Abi. All right. Attention, everyone, please. I just want to do this. All right. So this is the data we need. Employee data set. So I need to load this data. I need to find a way to represent this data in my what? In my database. And there are two ways you can do it. I will look at the first method, and I will also look at the what? At the second method. Now, a database has been created. Ms. Okwe, a database has been created. So we needed to, what, to create tables. All those information that you see must be represented in a what? In a table. So the first thing I will do is to create a table that will record all the what? All the employee. And how do you do that? I will look for my data set. The data set has what? Employee number, first name, last name, birth date, gender, and what? And hire date. These are the fields that you must represent inside that what? Inside that table. So for me to do that, I will have to come into my SQL workbench, and I will say create employee table, and I will do that. Hmm? Oh, that's true. Thank you for that. So after you create your database, you must remember to use your database. So that's also very important. Thank you for that. So you use the database, and you say by what? Use employee underscore db2. Are you with me, guys? So you do that by saying what? Use this database. This database is just created. I've just created this database, and I will specify that you should use the what? You should use the database. I will run that query as well. I'll run that query. So this makes what? The second query. Eh? I'm fast. Seriously. Am I too fast? We created a database, and we are using the what? Why are we using database? Because there are many databases there. I have to specify which database did I want to use, and the command to specify that is what? Use. Then the name of the what? Of the database. And it's as simple as that. Can I move on? Use. Then, so once it's giving you that error, yeah, and you say, okay, this place is fine, nothing is wrong with it, you look at the top. So, and that is because the last query was not what? Was not ended. I told you always end. Have you created the database? Because I've not seen. Okay, this is database employee, and then you only need one of this command. Sure, you know. Okay, you just want to keep it for learning sake, Abi. But know that whenever you are creating a database, you only need one of them. Is that you go with this or you go with this? But this is much more preferable. You understand? So this will now specify that this database that I've just created, though, I want to use it. Now you will run this query now. You bring your cursor to this place first. You are running that one again. So you bring your cursor to this place, then you now run it. Now you can see the employee is now what? Bold. It means that it's now being in what? In use. Any challenge from the back? Miss Yetunde, any challenge? Are you sure? Ah, okay. Oh. All right. So We have created a database, which is the first thing for everybody. Now the next one is to create that table. And creating table is not difficult. Once you have seen what your table look like, all I need to do is what? Use my data definition language. Create what? Table. And then you give the name of the table. In this case is what? Employees. And then you open your bracket, then you close, and then you start defining the what? The field. So this command is saying what? We are going to create a table, and the name of the table is what? Is employees. In case you are learning or in some other, or you are working with some people, and that way people, some people create table. So you see some people doing it like this. So this is also what? This is also allowed. It's also possible. You can say create table, if not what? If not exist. At least I want to create the database if not exist. Table too if it does not what? Exist. So it's also possible. And then the first thing there, according to our information, is what? The employee number, first name, last name. Employee number, first name, last name, then birth date, gender, gender, and then hire date. So these are the fields that made up this particular what table. These are the fields that will make up this table once you are done creating it. A table employee will be created. It's going to have a column employee number, a column first name, last name, birth date, gender, and hire date. Any question? Anyone there? Don't run it yet. Employee number, first name, last name, birth date, gender, and then hire date. Those are data I want to load into this table. If that Excel data has more column, I'll have to what? Specify all the columns. Did everybody understand that? Mr. Ake, are we good? Alright. So now after you have specified the field name, is that all? That's not all. There's another very important thing, and that's what? The data types. Every column must have what? Data type. That's why you can see there's an error in my code here. That's why you can see that this error means that this is an invalid what? Syntax. You cannot define columns without what? Data types. And what are data types? Data types means what? The type of data. The type of data. And you know that common data type that we have what? Text, we have numbers, and we have what? Dates. You understand? Under the text you see things like what? Voucher. So since our employee number here, according to, let me just put this up, I can't remember, so I don't make mistake. All right. I think data type we use for the employee number, okay, is an integer. So the same thing you have to do here. You have to specify what integer. So that means that our employee number, if you look into the Excel sheet too, all the employee numbers, they are what? In numbers. So because I've looked into that Excel, I've seen that all the data I want, employee numbers are recorded in number. So that's why I say what? Integer. Miss today. So that's what that integer. Integer means what? A kind of data. But that data is a what? A whole number. Under number, we have what? Int. We also have what? Float. Okay, there's no float here. We have float in Postgres. But in MySQL, we don't have float. Those are one of the things that when you start using, when you use another interface. Okay, there's float, so imagine. There's actually float. Alright, so float is actually what? A data type too. Double is also what? A data type. But float and double, what do we use them to do? To hold what? Decimal numbers. There's also decimal data type. All these things, we can't be going into it one by one. These are things that you read up. By the time you look at those resources, you find those information. There's decimal, there's float, there's integer, there's double. You understand? So it depends on the kind of data you want to what? You want to store into that field. Our first name obviously will be what? Varchar. So we can use varchar. And I think we use varchar of 14. And I think for the last name we use varchar of what? Of 16. And then for the birth date cannot be a text but a what? A date format. And the gender we use what? What do we use again? Enum. And we say it can either be a male or a female. And then the higher date too is also a what? A date. And these are data types. This data type will enforce a kind of data to be stored into that what? Into that table or into that column rather. Then optional, you can also provide what? Constraints. Our constraints are what? Primary key, null, not null, unique. Everything you find it inside that what? That video I'm going to send to you. Primary key, foreign key. Those are the constraints we have. Not null, null, unique. What other one again? Default. Those are what? Constraints. So I think the only constraint we set for this guy is what? Primary key. And this will ensure that this particular field is what? Is unique and it's never what? Never empty. It can be used to uniquely identify what? Record from that what? From that table. And if I do this, that's all for what? For my employee. Is that all? The data type are complete. Everything is what? Is complete. Okay, not null. So if I say not null means what? Oh, yeah. When you set something to primary key, do you have to put not null again? Yeah, I just want to. It's not compulsory. Why? Primary key. Primary key already has by default a primary key already have what? Not null and already have what? Unique by default. So that you don't have to say unique and not null. So it's not compulsory. This is like tautology. But for this guy, you can say what? Not null, and it means it's not going to be what? Empty. Not null is not going to be empty. Not null is not going to be what? Empty. And then not null, everything I'm going to set everything to what? Not null. And I'm going to set everything not null. Alright, let me pause this. Is what? Yes. Yes. The maximum character they can hold is 16. And the first name is what? Is 14. So it depends on the requirement. But even if the person did not define that this is the requirement, you can probably just use 255. 255 is like common. No, it's not the highest. It can be as long as anything. But that 255 is common among developers. If you have seen other people's code, you'll be seeing voucher 255. So if it is not, if the documentation or the client did not specify that, let the voucher be this long, go ahead and use what? 255. You understand? So any table you want to create now, this is the same way we are going to create it. So that means once I've created employee, you know their main data set there. That means I will also create table for what? Department. I'll create table for department tied to salary, so I can have those information. But because of time, I will stop there. I will focus on this what? Only this employee table. Now, once I've created your table, let's now get the data. By now, everybody should know how to create a table now. Now, how do I now load my data into where? Into this table. Because by now, if you look into your table and then you write your DQL, our DQL is what? Select everything from employees. So that means I want to see everything inside that employee table. So, and if you do this, and you see all the information there are what? Are empty. Because sincerely there is no what? There is no information inside. Miss Dami, are you with us? Should I pause? What's the time now? We still have time. We still have time. Yes.
I'm trying to be flexible for them to
All right. So this statement I just wrote, this is the first select statement you must know. And that select statement is what? DQL. Remember our DQL, you can select every column from where? From the table. So this means selecting all column from where? From the employee table. And when I run that query, I have what? Nothing. Because inside the table I just created, there is no what? There is no data in it. There's no data in it. Eh? You have created a table. Inside that table, you expect that what? There should be information inside it. So when you say select all from employee, you mean that give me all record that are inside what? The employee table. And right now, when you look at the result, is there anything inside? No, because you didn't put any data inside. It's more like creating what? An empty table. Are we good? All right. So no record. So how do you now get the record into this table? There are two ways also to get the record into the table. The first method is what? Using insert. And the second method is what? Loading the what? Importing the data. But you know that using insert will take you what? Longer time. Or if the data are like for example, this is what we mean. By number, we only have what? 20 record. If I'm going to do insert all these records one after the other, you will finish this in no time. But what if you have like 1 million employees or 1,000 employees? Inserting data one by one is not what? It doesn't make sense. So we expect it to load the data into the table, not to insert it. Alright, to now load this data, that's where our challenges comes in. One, when you are loading the data, SQL only see a CSV data or a what? Or a JSON data. That was why in the last class, when the data was in Excel, we have to what? Convert it to what? To CSV. That was the first thing everybody did. And when we were trying to even convert it, even though we convert it, some system pick it, some system did not what? did not pick it. That's another challenge. You understand? So, and the idea is that you just have to use different CSV formats. So depending on your system, like on my system, I was able to convert this into a Macintosh CSV, and it works. So the same copy you have now is a Macintosh CSV, which your window did not have. So if it works for you, fine. But if it doesn't work for you, that means we have to convert it again into another CSV format. Now your system will be able to see it. You understand? So in case you are given an Excel file, you must never convert to a CSV file. All right. And how do I do this? I'm going to show you. But another important thing that I also stated for anybody that has gone through the video, while you are importing the data, another thing that you must also take notes. One is that the file must be in CSV or JSON format. Another one is that the date format. SQL only, or MySQL database only see date format in year, month, and day. Year, month, and day. But according to my system right now, if you look at what I have day, month, and year. So I have to ever convert it. You understand? And how do I do that? The only way I do this is by selecting that column. I select that column. Let me enlarge my screen. So I select the column, which is that column date. And I did I go to my general, more number format, and I'll pick the format I want, which is date. And I'll say this type of date. That means the date I will start with a year, month, and day. And I click okay. Now you can see. You open the Excel file. Have you done that? So when you open the Excel file, you select this column. Then you go to this general. This is where you select your data type in Excel. When we get to Excel 2, this is where you select data type. So when you click this, you will see different data types. So you go to the more options. If you click on more option, you now pick the date option. Then under date option, you see different type of dates. And I'll pick the one with year, month, and day. And day. Go to click on that general. One number format. All right. Have everybody gotten that? Excel, you understand this more better. All right. Stress me, oh. So when I give you my project, I won't be yelling, Mr. Allah, Mr. Allah. So for someone that doesn't have Excel and you want to do something like this, there's another approach you can use it just in case. Uh, if I face this same challenge and I don't have Excel on my system and I need to change the data type, you can just upload it to your Google Drive. You open it with Excel, what they call it, Google Excel. Then when you do it to your Google Excel, you change the format using Google Excel. Then I will do what? I will change the data type, then I will download the data again. So that's another way you can do it. Alright, so let's get this done because of time. Alright, I'll do the same to this date as well. I will say more number format, date format, and then I will say my month, year, month, and day. So all the data that are in this data now, I've changed them to year, month, and day, which is equal understand. Now I will now say save as. You can go to your file, then save as, and I save it as a Macintosh CSV in my case. So try any CSV format you also have in your own case too. So maybe the guy will see it. All right. Don't worry, I've saved this in Macintosh already. So if just them see it, that's good. Let's just try it out. Don't worry, don't worry. Eh? No, this is Mac. On Windows, you can use CSV command separated delimiter. When you use it the last time, it's work for you now. Here you stick to that. Try another CSV format.
Okay, is that why it's giving me zero record now?
No, it can't be that word.
So I found that it's CSV command and
Yes. Okay, don't worry. Uh, all right, I will save this, and then I will add it to replace existing one. Now, the next step for me is now to load this data. I've met the two conditions. It's a CSV, and it's a what? The year are in the right format. So all I need to do now is what? Go into my data, and this is the table. You right click on the table, and then you say data import wizard. Then I will browse the data, and I will say my document, my desktop, my SQL, and I think data is right here, and then my employee CSV, and then I open. I'll say next, and I'll say next, and then I will confirm that the source column is to the what? To the destination columns. Then I can say what? Next, and then the data gets loaded into the what? Into the database. Then once I click finish, if I run this query again, now you can see before the record was empty, but from the Excel file or the CSV file, we have been able to load the data into what? Into the table. I will pause around now and go on one by one and make sure everybody do this. So, because the way our faces they look, say the second approach, it's going to work for you. All right. So the second approach to loading this data is relatively more simple than this. Attention, guys, so that in case you have the same issue and you are not able to load data after creating the table, you can as well use this other method. And now this other method doesn't require me to create the table. So what I will do now is to load the data directly without creating the what with the table. So let me try that with my department table. So for my department table now, for example, I want to load the data and I'm not creating the what? I'm not creating the table. Attention. So all I have to do now is what? Go to my table, right click and say what? Data imports without creating the what? The table first. So I will say table data import and I'll go and browse my data and I'll select department. Are we there? Are we there? Should I go back? The second method says I want to load my data without creating my table. The first method we did was to create the table first. For me to use this approach, I have to know all the fields in that table. But there's another way which is faster and a lazy approach. But it's a lazy approach, but at least the job gets done. And what is it? You go to your table, right click on your table and say I want to import a data. And I'll go and browse the data I want to load and I'll say department CSV and I will open this and I'll say next. Now the only difference right here is that this time around is not picking existing what table, because this data is not going to be loaded on existing table. If you pick existing table, the only existing table you have there is what? Employee. So I will say create a new table and give it a name of what? Department. Then I'll say next. Now you can see here I don't have to say the table has been created. Now it's giving me the columns there and it's telling me to specify the data type, and by default it's giving it what? Text, which you can change to whatever thing you want to change it to. But because my department number is actually what? A text, I will say what? Text. And my department name is also a text, I will say what? Text. And I will say what? Next. And then next. And then next. And your record gets inserted. If it's integer, but just like what we said earlier, because you don't know what is in the data, some might actually be bad data, you can easily load all of them as text. So when you're not doing the cleaning, you cannot change back to integer. You get, you can leave everything in text. It's safe because everything will get loaded, whether it is number that is there, whether it is date, we will sell them as text and load all of them. So later on I cannot be changing the what? The data type, which we are going to do now. You see, then I'll say next. Now look at this. Now let me refresh my schema. So the department is already there. Now for all of us that have that issue of loading data, try this approach. Let's see if it works without creating the table. Load the data. Yeah, let's try it, please. Remember, whatever way you get the job done. So help me alter my table. And what's the name of my table? Department. If you like, use this side, put in backslash department. And what is the name of my table? What I want to do, I want to add constraints. Remember, primary key is a constraint. And what's the name of your constraints? Primary key. And what is the field? Department. Number. You can see what I was saying earlier in my square workbench. To know column is by what? This backslash. But in Postgres, this does not work. Does not work. So it's all about syntax. But you see the same thing, the same query. Yes. What? Okay, you mean where I want to alter it? I want to add a primary key. Can I say modify? Yes. I can say modify the column to what? To make it a primary key. Or you alter it to add the what? A constraint. So the two approach works. So let's run this query now. And I run this. And what did I say? Is department number not let me refresh this. Department number. Okay, it's a text. Let's alter it and change data type there. So alter this and then modify, modify. And what's the name of the so department number? And I will say it must be a what? Department number is it not a batcher? Let me confirm. Select all from departments. All right. All right. So let's see what the data look like. Department number. So it's actually a batcher. So why is text not going? So let's just say that according to documentation, I say child what? I think child 4, right? And then I will say primary key. So I can do this. So let's see if this work. And that's it. So this guy has added what? A primary key to it. If you want to confirm whether that primary key works, remember your command. Okay, can I even refresh? Be refresh. Be refresh. Look at the primary key. You can see. It was not there before. The primary key appear here. Moment have a primary key. Codar. We loaded the data. We generated this SQL code. Now we now discover that this department number needed the words a data type as given to us, not just ordinary text. No text means as many as possible. But according to our documentation, it is what 4 characters. So that's why we say what alter this table department and modify the department number column. Change the data to what child of 4 and the primary key constraints all at once. And then when you run this, you see that this guy comes to what from text to child 4 and then primary key PK. And that's it. He's the guy that generates it. That's why we said his code is more better than our own. You understand? What is the time now? It's break time. See you. So far so good. I've imported just two table, two file. The first one I imported, that's my employee table. I used that one. I did it manually. And the other one, which is my department, I did it by loading, right? So, and then what did I do? We made a little alter to add a what? A primary key to this what? Department name. This one, primary key is already defined instantly. So there is no need to what? To alter. This one I have to alter to do what? To add the primary key. Do we get it? Now, let's go to the next table. Now, which table do you want to create next? According to the data, we have department employee and department manager. So the same thing I will do, create department employee, and I will use the second approach. I'll just go to my table. I'll say load my data. All right. I wanted to make use of that. Uh, eh? I want to load the next data, and that's our department employee. So this is my department employee. So I will also change the date format. I'll change the date format to year, month, and day. And once I do that, I'm going to save it also as a CSV format. As you can see, I save it. Then after I save it, it's now in CSV format. And the date is in year, month, and what? And day. Those are the two things that the guy needs to meet. Now, just at this time around, I won't say create. I'll just say what? Load the data. I will browse the data and department employee. I will open, I will say next, and I will say create it as a new what? A new table. I will say next, and I will confirm the data type. As you can see, employee numbers are in integer. Every other thing they are in what? Text. Even though my from date and to date they are meant to be in what? In date. But we don't have date here. What we have is what? Date time. And you know our date time is what? Date and time. But according to the data you have here, it is what? In date alone. So you won't use what? Date time. So I will just leave it as what? Text. So when you are cleaning your data, you will alter it to change it to what? Date format. Alright? And I will say next, next, and next. Data gets inserted. Now I want the guy to think I'm a badass. I will generate the what? The SQL code. Let me refresh my schema. Alright. And I will generate department employee. I will generate the SQL create statement. And this is it. Alright. The next thing now is that what? I need to make this guy a primary a foreign key. This one is also a what? A foreign key. Because it's going to what? Connect to the employee table. Department connect what? Department table. So, and how do you do that? I will say alter table. And what is the name of my table? And what do I want to do? Add a constraint. And what is the name of the constraint? Foreign key. And which key do you want to use? That's this employee number. You want it to reference what? It's going to reference which table? That's my employee table. And then which column is the employee table? And that's my employee number. And this way I will add my what? I will add my foreign key. Now let's explain this for the sake of those that doesn't understand what we are trying to do. So basically so far we have imported two data, two file or two table. One is the department, another one is what? Is the employee. So in our database, as we explained, database will contain many tables, not just one table. So let's assume the first table you have is this, which is what? The department. And this gives you all departments that you have in the what? In the organization. So let's assume I have department ID. I have 1, 2, and 3. Let's say department name. Let's give a department name of marketing. Which other department? HR department. And then which one? Accounting department. So let's assume these are the three types of department we have in this organization on this table. Now we now have another table which is called the what? Employee. So we have employee number, which is 1, 2, and 3. Let's say 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 employee. We have their first name, we have their last name, and their hired dates. Let's assume this person is Ola, John. So informations like that. Now, Mr. Mitayo, this is a database. This database for now contains two tables. One table is what? Giving us information about the what? The department. Every department in the what? In the organization. The employee table call every information about the what? About the employee. Now, if you want to know this particular employee, what department does it belongs to? That means there must be a way to link this guy to this guy. And that way you can link them is what we call the what? The foreign key. So it is the foreign key that you use to make a reference, because normally in our database every data are what are represented into entity. Entity means table, 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 table. So you can have like 100 tables in a database, but all those 100 tables in core, they must be what? Related. That is what brought about what? Relational database. Relational database. When you hear relational database, means what? Database that are what? All the tables inside are what? Are related. And for every relational database that you have, you use one command, you use one query to query or communicate with them. And what is that command? SQL. So that means that what? MySQL is a relational database. Postgres is a relational database. MariaDB is a relational database. Microsoft Server and Core, all of them are what? Are relational database. Any database that make use of SQL is a what? Relational database. And what make them a relational database? Every table inside them, one way or the other, they are talking to each other. They are related. And now our table is related by a foreign key. Mr. Tunde, you went on break. What do you take? We say Miss Okpe, you said can't I ask? It's part two. Talk Jerry, what do you take? Water. God bless you. Water is life now. You enjoy yourself, Abi. Are you sure? You are not sure. Class rep, take note of that. Anybody in this class must enjoy themselves, even though when the class is boring. You must Is that about money? Ah eh? Class rep, you need to make sure everybody is looking good, as in they must look good. They must enjoy themselves when they come to class. That's the so no wahala. You are the only one taking much. You are the only one. You and Mr. Mitayo drink. Every other people is just taking water, 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 water. Eh? It's water. This is not water. Oh. You want to change it? You even table water and coke. God dey sha. All right, you understand, Abi? So now, if I have two tables inside this database, if they are isolated like this, they are isolated. You can't know which department a particular employee belongs to. And you know, one of the things in an organization we want to do that, we want to be able to know which department does an employee belongs to. So how do we now establish a relationship between two tables? That's where we are going to. How do you make sure that two tables are what? Are related, and they are what? You need to know two things. When it comes to a relationship between two tables, you just need two things. The first thing is what? PK, and the next thing is what? FK. PK is what? Primary key. FK is what? Every table must have a what? A primary key, isn't it? Every table is by default is a best practice, unless in some situation where we are going to see now. Every table you created, every entity must have a what? A primary key. This guy has a primary key, and the primary key is what? Employee number, department number. According to what we have here, department number is the what? Is a primary key. That's why we have to alter it to add the what? A primary key constraint. The same way the employee number too is also a what? Also a primary key. So that means we have primary key here. We also have what? Primary key here. According to what we said, that every table must have a what? A primary key. Now to now establish a relationship between the two of them, there must be a what? A foreign key. And what is that foreign key? The foreign key is that what? A field that must be relating, that is common to both of them. Like for example, look at this. Let's add a new column to this guy. If I add a new column to this guy, Miss Yetunde, if I add a new column and I call it, you know there's already what? Employee number. Let's start. Yes. So yes, I should do what? Where am I? I will obey now. Eh? The network is not good. We'll send them the record version. Alright. You asked me to drink water. and I take water. Where am I? So if I add a new column here, department number. Now let's assume this Ola is in accounting department. What value will you see here? The what? The primary key, which is what? 3. So I have 3 here. Let's assume John is also in HR department. The primary key is what? 2. So you have 2 here. Let's assume this next person too is in what? 2 and 2. So from here, you can establish from this table that all these employee, most of them belongs to what? HR. Why only this guy belongs to what? Accounting, and none of them belongs to what? That's because there's a field here that is what? Relating to this guy. And what is that field? Department number is here. Department number 2 is also what? Is also here. But this department number on the department table is a what? A primary key. Why the department number on this employee table is a what? Is a foreign key that will allow me to be looking. It's like searching. If I get to this point, Ola, and I'm trying to look for the department this guy is, I'll pick this 3, come and look it up here, and I will see 3, and I will say, okay, the department is what? Accounting. So the aim of the foreign keys is to make a search, to look up. To look up. But in this our own database, instead of them to put a column here to represent the foreign key, they created another what? Another table to hold what? The foreign key. So which you can see sometimes. So instead of putting the column here, what we have instead is what, that is the reason why you can see that the name of the table is what? Department employee. So that means that if you want to know the department and the employee, you will come to this what? To this table. And on that table, what do we have there? We have what? We have the employee number first. Employee, please, I'm going somewhere, don't miss it out. Employee number, then the what? The department number. Then we have what? The date they were hired and the 2 dates, the from date and the 2 dates. Let's leave that one out. These are the most important thing. So don't stress yourself. For me to have department employee number, department employee table, if say on this table now you have department employee ID, what does that tell you? Is a primary key. Don't stress yourself. That's the practice. When you define a table name, if you want to give the primary key, it's usually the name of that table with ID, or the table name with what? Number, or whatever format the person wants to use. But when you see a primary key, you will know it's a what? Is a primary key. So that means that on this table, according to what I have said, that every table must have a primary key. Does this table has a primary key? No, it has no primary key, because this table on its own is not an entity. Rather, it's only making reference to where? To these 2 of them. So instead of us to have direct relationship between these table, the first one we did where I put a column here is a what? A direct relationship. Instead, this is a what? An indirect what? Relationship. So that means that the employee number here is a what? A foreign key. The department number here is a what? A foreign key. Both of them are foreign key. You get? Let me repeat. There's what? Department ID here, or department number, and there's what? Employee number. Both of them are what? Primary key. Now the same field, you now have them here. And what does the name of the table say? Department employee. That means department that the employee belongs to. So if you now have these 2 fields here, employee number, that means this employee number is making a reference to this guy, and this department number encore is making a reference to this guy. You know what we said? If you like, have 1,000 table, all the 1,000 table must be what? Must be related. Is it that the relation might be what? Direct, or what? Or indirect. In this case now is what? An indirect. So which means that according to what I have, if I have an employee who is 1, and the person is what? Department 3, and there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, and this is 2, this is 2, this is 2. What does it tell you? It means that every employee here, this is their what? This is their department. This person belongs to department 3, which is what? Accounting. All of them belong to department 2, which is what? HR. That's what the relationship is all about. So to establish a relationship, the idea is what? primary key and what? And foreign key. What's going on? Where did I stop? Okay, explain this. So that is the idea behind what? Relationship. When you are relating two or more tables together. So you can see that is what? Foreign key to primary key. Foreign key to primary key. So this way, once you have established the relationship, by default, all these three tables are what? Are tied together. And that you do that by what? By putting a foreign key. Now look at what I've just done now. The department employee that we loaded, this employee number is actually what? A foreign key to which table? To this employee table. So that's why we said what? Add a constraint called what? Foreign key to this guy, then make it to reference which table? Employee table on the what? On the employee number. That's just it in SQL. Use this guy to make a reference to the employee table. So that means that on this table there must be a field called what? Employee number. On the employee table too there must be a field called what? Employee number. If that is satisfied, the code runs fine. So let me now run this now. So if I run this, so the foreign key is what? Is set. Make sure you run this. I'm going somewhere. That's why I said we finish class by 4. What's the error? Read the error. It tells you that a column, you are calling a column that does not exist in that table. Does anybody have an error with that? Please, let's try this. So don't wait till you get to it. Let's try this together. Let's see what copy the employee folder. You copy the employee folder, isn't it? I thought you copied the employee folder. Is it done installing? That's why. Look at this. After we did this, what do we do with the department number? We added the what? We added the primary key. Guys, please. And another thing I need to take note. I don't understand there might be too many information, but they are just important. Once you miss one, you miss every other thing. You cannot add a foreign key when there is no what? A primary key. You understand? It's just like you do not make this guy a primary key, and you now want to join this foreign key to this guy. I remember what we said. We said primary key and what? And foreign key works together. So there's no way you can join this guy and this guy if this one is not a primary key, and you have already made this. You want to make this a foreign key. So the primary key must exist before the foreign key can what? Can exist. Do you get it now? Because this one now, the employee number, you need to make it a primary key. Because you get everything very first line data. Look at the employee. There's no foreign key, there's no primary key on the employee number. So how do you do that? Come to your employee data set. And you tell it to what? Add the what? The constraint. What's the constraint? foreign key. Nobody should be having challenges. So. You seem tired. Wow, you are tired. Your phone is ringing. Who is this? Is data? Why? I'll show you. Sarah. What is it? Which data are you putting? Private employee. Alright. You have the data. Have you changed the date format? Please, I'm coming. This is- You can write a select statement, save the data, get Alright. So I've added a foreign key to this guy. Then I also need to add a foreign key to this guy. Mr. K, are you getting this thing? Are you sure? Mr. Jaffet, these people don't know me. Oh. You see me? You wanna know me? You will know me. You will know me. Just look forward for my project. No, sure. No, there are two students in this class. If there are no more than two students, safe. I mean two category of students. There are some students, they are not getting it. But they just say, don't let us stress this man, Jare. Let him just teach us. Oh, we say yes, everything they say, we say yes, we understand. Let him just shall go. Why some students, you from their face, you know that they don't understand it. You know that, eh? They don't want to ask questions. I know those set of say when I see them, they don't want to stress the person, so they don't want to ask too much question. And I say, don't look at me. Sometimes my face might look somehow. Sometimes I can give you savage reply. Don't look at that word, please. If you look me by my face, don't know. Whatever you don't understand, if you like, let's repeat 10 times. Even though it might look stressful, you don't mind. We keep on repeating it. The whole idea is that what you understand it. But the concept of you not understanding it in a class, I understand. You might not easily get everything in class, but when you get to man, then your head's cool and then you start being. But that does not mean that you should not follow up. You understand? You still follow up, whether you are still getting it or you're not getting it. Try and follow up. I'm not trying to say make everything you understand in class. No, you understand, but try and follow up at least and jot some things and then look and see because most of these things you not see it on YouTube. Like all these are debugging error that you are seeing. Nobody be debugging error on YouTube. You understand? If I'm going to create a YouTube video too, I will delete all those places where I was trying to load the data and the data is not loading. Who put that? Nobody put that. No, they won't put it. They won't put it. Ah, they play. They play. Nobody will do that. The only guy I know that does that work like real life that you can probably watch his YouTube video and it will show you that you make mistake is Alex. Alex, no, there are many. Alex and Alex, but he's the only one that doesn't package things. It will show you, yes, the analyst. You understand? It will show you on real life that this is the project is doing, this is the challenge is facing, this is what he has to do this. But some other people, they will package, they will throw animation, get data imported. You understand? Those are not the kind of video you will watch. But people like Alex, Chandu, they do real work. Those guys they do this stuff on the system and they will show you challenges. Um, wow. What's the error? Say it out. Let's hear. You cannot add or update the child.
We are still going to do it. So what we are still recording.
I am. Where you, I'll just go ahead and copy this guy, and I'll just say add the foreign key to department name. So the next one now is what? Department number, which will make a reference to my department, and that will also be what? The department number. Let me be sure I have department number. All right, and that's it. So department number to department number, and that's the second foreign key. And let's run this guy, and I have is the character not the same thing? Department number is a char, department number here is a text. All right, I need to change the data type of that department number, so I will say alter my table, and I want to modify my column, and which of my column, and that is my
You don't understand anymore.
your head cannot blow. Use this head, and it's going to be what? Char 4. All right, now why did I have to do this? Pay attention here. Now I needed to make this guy a foreign key to this guy. Now because of that, I wrote this code here. Alter this my department employee, add the foreign key to my department number, which will reference what? To department table. But because their data type is not compatible, we loaded it. One is in char 4 on my department table. Department number there is what? Char 4. But department number on the department employee call is what? A text. As you can see, department number here is a text. Why department number here is a what? Is a char 4. The data type is not what? Compatible. And why is that? Because we loaded it as a text. We are supposed to change the data type to what? Char 4. So that's why I have to come here and what? And alter that table to modify the column to change the data type to what? To char 4, which is the same thing as what we have on the employee table. So if I do that and I run this and data type change, then I can now be able to add my foreign key, and then that should work, and that's it. Please endure. I know I'm stressing you. Endure. You understand this part? That we need to make a foreign key. Department number on this department employee must make a reference to a department number on the department table, but their data types must be what? The same thing. This guy, the data there is actually what? When we loaded it, it was what? A text. Why this one that we define ourselves was a what? A char 4. So I need to alter this one to change it to what? To char 4, so that the data type can what? Can be compatible before I can now say what? Enforce a foreign key. We are not making them to be compatible. We wanted to use them as a foreign key, so that department number on this table can relate to department number on this table. So because of that, we will first of all ensure that this was a primary key, which everybody did. So we want to make this a foreign key, and that will work. But because their data type is not the same thing, we run into an error. So I come back and alter the data type of this one to be as the same as this one. So the data type is now the same thing before we can now do what? Make reference to them. They are not primary key. Only one primary key, only one foreign key. But both of them are what? Of the same data type, which is what? Char 4, char 4. And what's the error? So that means you are calling a column that is not there. Look at the column you are calling and look at the one you have. No, department manager. That means he's recording the managers of every what department. So by 5, if you want to leave, leave. If you want to leave, God bless you. I should come and be. We are here. What are we now saying? You are learning this thing. You don't want to stress. You don't know anything. Do you know how long it takes before I even know that there's a shortcut for that? You don't know anything. Let's load the data, Jerry. It's not even about AI itself. AI. They play. Data import. Department manager. Then I say open and I next. I confirm everything is good and I say next. Data is loaded and I'll try to refresh and I'll tell the guy I'm a badass by generating and put my SQL code here. Create department underscore manager table. Remember to always use comments and I'll tell you to generate SQL create statement and that's it. Then everybody know that employee number must be a what? A foreign key. Department number must be a what? A foreign key. So all I just need to do is just what? Copy this guy. I can copy this guy. And once I copy this guy, I can just edit some stuff here. And I'll say this is what department manager. This is department manager. And I'm referencing employee number to employee table. Department number to department table. Alright? And I will confirm that the data type here is a text. So let me alter it to change it to char 4. I think I did something like that here. And I'll just change data type so that the data type can work. So these are the 4 things I'm doing now. So on my department manager, I'm altering the column to change the department number to what? To char 4. I run that and that works fine. And then I tell it to add a foreign key and that works fine. And I tell it to also add a foreign key and that works fine. So those are the 4 things. So loaded the data, change the what? The data type. Because by default when you loaded it, it was a what? A text. I needed to conform with what? Char 4. So after changing it, data type are now what? The same thing. Now I added the foreign key to this guy. Added the foreign key to this guy. And that's it. It's just size. It's just size. Don't stress yourself about it's just size. You can use voucher, you see how you use char, it's just the size. Voucher is even common, very common. That's what people use. So it's just the size. You don't need to bother about the whole oath this thing. But you can, for knowledge sake, you can do a Google search. So I know one of them is better than the other. One might have a limit, while the other one might have a bigger limit. You understand? So you can use a Google search to do that. And that's it. I'm going somewhere. The data, you loaded the data. Why did you name it DB2? When you were loading it, that's when this guy appeared and you didn't change it. So just go on with it. So that means this is the name of your table from now on. Alright. Mr. Yafet, is it adding up? It's not adding up. Why? And what was the error? Look at the error now. If we don't want to debug error, is what? Does not exist. So if you tell you something does not exist, you now look for it. Why is it saying this thing does not exist? You look for it. It's not as if you just. You know that data, right? when you run this, just look at it. It's bound to have error. If you don't want to have an error, you have not started. You have error. So when you have that error, please sit down and look at the error messages. That's what makes you different from computer village IT person. Eh? Don't do computer village work for me here. Computer village people, they think they are IT people. They are not IT people. That's not IT. All right. Is it work now? You can see. You can see. These are the things you need to do. Change the data type of this guy. Then you do this. Is it charging now? Is this? Is it? Let your engineer check it. Only my disconnect. Be on break. Only my break. Maybe you won't break. Maybe it's okay. You don't understand Yoruba. I thought you speak Yoruba now. I thought you speak Yoruba now. That's what I'm trying to. Maybe there's a power break inside this thing. So, alright, guys. So yeah, let's do this. Mr. Tunde, are we good? Is that mean call? I'll give us a project, and this project is going to be a group project. Miss me, are you there? It's going to be a group project. Alright, can we move on? Just 3 steps. Change, load your data, direct the SQL code, change the data type, then add a foreign key to this both column. Have you done all this? And that's all now. You've added the foreign key to both of them. And that's it. So let's move on to the next data. So my next data now is so that should be salary and title. So let me start with the salary. The laser approach that we did. You know, if we don't use the laser approach, we will have added it while defining the data. But you know that if you do that, and some of the data is not well, you will not end up loading all of them. You understand? So inside the comment manager. Comment number is what? It takes one comment number inside department is the word in tab 4. So that's why I asked you to run this guy. Start to change it. So if I run this, just run this now. Then this guy should wash. You can see. So for my salary as well, I'll go ahead and change the type of my dates. So, and I'll change this to year, month, and number. Year, month, and number. And I'm going to save this. Please, where is the with the flash? I hope this lady not go home with it. Where's with the flash? I gave it to Temitayo. Alright. Let's continue. Don't worry. Who's with the flash? Shall I copy everything at once now? Who's with a flash? Alright, please, I just need to move on, don't worry. Alright. So I'll go ahead and load my data. And I'm going to do this very fast now so I can go. So I'll go ahead and browse this. And I'll load my salary data. And I'll say next. And then everything gets loaded. The date format. Yes, I did. So then I refresh my schema. And then I have my salary data. Then I can now generate the SQL code. So I'll say create salary. This is my salary table. Then I can go ahead and generate the SQL code. Alright. And my employee number there will be a foreign key as well. So I'll make my employee number a foreign key. So that's for the data for the salary. I loaded my data. I'll make my employee number a foreign key on my salary table. So as you can see, so my employee number on this salary table make a reference to what? To this guy. And I run my code, and that's it. The same way I will go ahead for the last table, which is tied to. Who has a flash, please? I don't think I collected that flash. Alright, please, let's pass it, please. Alright, the same thing I'll do for my title too. I'll change my title date format. Then I save as a CSV. Then I go ahead and load this data. So I'll say my table. And I'll go ahead and load my title. Employee folder. Employee folder. Alright. Then I'll go ahead and generate an SQL code for that. Create title. And I'll try and generate my SQL code for my title. SQL create statement. And this for my title. The same thing I also add the what? A primary key. A foreign key rather on my employee table. So my employee column. And then that's it. And that gives the end of all the data. So for the salary and for the title, you only need to define a what? A foreign key. As you can see, employee number here must be a foreign key to the what? Employee table. The same thing I did for my title too. The employee number there is also what? A foreign key to the employee table. And that's the end. And what you have just done, you've just finished your database schema. So make sure you refresh your data. And where I'm going to close this up, which will be as a bonus. Once you have finished modeling your database like this, You might want to do what? A documentation, a representation of your database. And your representation of your database is what we have on this board, which is what we call what? Entity relational diagram. So if my boss want me to, or my client want me to present a representation of this database, this representation has a lot of use cases. If I work as a data engineer person, if I give this to a web developer, as a backend developer understand what this is. It will allow them to what? To build an application that can manage all these resources. So, but let's see how to do it in SQL. So, are you done with the flash? Copy to your system now. Yeah, let everybody do this then. So that I can build the same page. Alright. It's the same thing. Don't forget the arrangement. If you like, let your own be here. If you try to drag them around, it's the same. You put your cursor on it. If you have done it the way I did it, you put your cursor on it. You see that it is this guy to this guy. No matter the arrangement. The arrangement will not be the same way on my system or your system. No. But if you drag it around, it's the same relationship as existed between them. Diagram. So here, that's the end of my class.
Okay, Mr.
Yes.
Is it that next year?
Huh? No, database. Huh? You call it data modeling but in database, you call it ERD. You understand? Entity relational diagram. If you like, call it data modeling. See, you are not wrong. You are not wrong because you are modeling data. Where? EER. Can somebody send that up? Can somebody send that up? I don't know the meaning of it. Search it up online. But I know it as ERD. I think the D there is okay. I think this is entity relational diagram. So that is the E stands for something else. So the ERD means entity relational diagram. Is what? Enhanced entity relational.
Enhanced relationship.
God help you. I know it as ERD. So and that's it. So that's the end of our class. Yes, please.
End of the class. So what's your